It's popping off on PlayStation and doing numbers on PlayStation. It's popping off on Steam. And so obviously that has caused some server issues. They're overloaded. And one of the things that they could have immediately done is kick idling players, which they don't have for some reason. I think they didn't even think about that. But anyway, regardless, basically what ended up happening is people were like, fix the servers, build, make larger servers, make more availability. They apparently added the thing that I just mentioned, kicking idling players, only today. So that's good, because that, I think, was like causing a lot of people to hop on the server and fill up space instead of allowing other people to also be able to join. I think that's going to open up a lot of room. But they said in a post on Twitter, Pillisted responded to one user saying that they want to buy Helldivers 2 but they have no money. Here's what the CEO said: if you have no cash, get it later. While we made a really fun game, it's worth waiting until the service can support the capacity. I mean, as a CEO, of course, I want the game to be as profitable as possible. But if you spent your last dollar and got stuck in server queues, I'd be heartbroken. I like that. I like that he's saying that. It's chill. The other thing that I saw them say was that they weren't going to hire a bunch of people specifically to turn around and then fire them, as is usually the process in every other aspect of the tech field, especially in gaming, where he was like, we're not going to use this like opportunity of growth to just like grow out of control and then have to inevitably do mass layoffs when the downturn comes. And it's such a funny thing to say openly, because it's very much in line with the way I view the world. Whenever people are like, Hassan, why don't you fucking do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you build a fucking network of political commentary and do news and media and expand and whatever? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I like what I'm doing. I want to maintain the passion that I have rather than turning this into a fucking business. And I like that while this is a business, these guys also have some of that built into their understanding of the world, it seems. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it does seem pretty fucking chill when you have a CEO that's openly stating like, listen, wait to get the game. If you don't, if the servers are still overloaded and you spend all your fucking hard-earned money, then that sucks. You have a CEO that's saying, we're not going to rapidly expand. We're not going to rapidly expand and then have to do mass layoffs. And it's such a funny thing that like, it's inherently anti-capitalist to say that. I will admit this. And you don't actually ever expect a CEO, which is like supposed to be the maximum capitalist person, to say such a thing. Okay? Because it unironically, in my opinion, goes against like everything that the system is designed around. You are not supposed to have long-term, you're not supposed to favor long-term stability and the maintenance of a company and maintaining like your passion for whatever project you're working on. You're supposed to do short-term. And the reason why I stress this for Helldivers in particular is because it is one of those games that very obviously shows these fucking sweaty nerd gamers, I hope, the difference between making a passion project work versus making a fucking cash cow. Now, years down the line, Red Arrow might change. Their attitude might change. They might start, I mean, they're under Sony technically, so obviously there's going to be outside pressure. But you have to remember that there is a reason why this feels different than other games. Okay? It feels so much more immersive. There's a tremendous amount of attention to detail. You think other game devs working at larger companies don't have that smoke, don't have that passion? Of course they do. But that is unfortunately, that passion is unfortunately destroyed by constant margin seekers, people that want to improve shareholder value, that cut corners every step of the way, that make you recycle IP, that make you juggle IP. I want to do a massive shout out to Arrowhead GS back-end engineers. I mean, 4 people 5xing the max of what they designed for in 1 week and are now looking to go beyond. I don't think you understand what massive feat this is. It's like tuning a Vespa to compete in Formula One. I assume one challenge is scaling up for the current numbers, knowing they'll inevitably drop a decent amount to spend to something more manageable, but also realizing it'll surge around content updates and releases, fun stuff, lol. The act of overhiring, then doing layoffs is a horrible practice and a bad experience for the employees. Using short-term solutions for short-term problems such as outsourcing contractors or limited time agreements. Who could have thought? Obviously, nobody gives a fuck, by the way. And if you think that like other gaming developers, are going to look at this and then go, oh, we should also go back to this, you're wrong. You fundamentally misunderstand how capitalism works. It is not going to happen. They are owned by Sony, but Sony is publishing the game, so they're still like beholden to some level of outside pressure. And there's also going to be the pressure of money and making more money. That's always very alluring. So the reason why I'm mentioning all this is because I want to give flowers to those who deserve it. Okay? I want to give flowers to those who deserve it. These guys very clearly demonstrated that if you are making something that you're passionate about, you can put together a game that is suffering from its own success. Sorry, Sony owns the Helldivers IP. They're not owned by Sony. Yes, they're independent. No one wants them, Lamau. What do you mean? Do you ever take on why the fuck so many tech companies massively overhired? Genuine overestimation? No. This is how it works. They overhire because they want to. People overhire because they're operating on perpetual growth models. Because the goal there is to continuously grow. It is to continuously improve shareholder value, increase shareholder value. Okay? They care about short-term profits. They're owned by massive companies that don't give a fuck, that are like 11 times removed from the actual making of the video game. So everything in a mega corporation is geared towards improving shareholder value, maxing out as hard as possible. So they are looking at their projected growth and hiring to basically pump their projected growth even higher. If you're hiring a lot, it shows in the stock market as, look at this company, it's going places. And they know that inevitably they can very easily do mass layoffs and then improve their numbers again. If they hire a bunch of people, all of a sudden, that shows that you are growing as a company. And then if you do downsizing and mass layoffs, that shows that you are eliminating redundancies and becoming more efficient. So you're still maxing out your profits. So companies do this all the time. Notice how I never in this process even once brought up the product itself and how it looks. It's because that's secondary. What is more important here is the profit margins. Disco Elysium is an entirely different story that I don't even want to get into. But yeah, really, the thing that happened was low interest rates flush tech companies with cash for cheap, which allowed them to attract the best talent with insane salaries. A lot of these tech startups are operating their business like these rates would have stayed like this forever. Rates went up rather than just be less profitable. They're just laying people off. Have you gone over Andy Ogle's comments about Gaza? Yesterday I was supposed to, but I never did. Yeah, Disco Elysium is an entirely different story. There's more to it. There's more drama behind the scenes than just like them being bought out, even though that played a role as well. So anyway, Helldivers team rules so much. Discussion. Discord moderator banning people for harmless messages. So I just got on the official Discord server and saw some people discussing if they should add a transgender flag cape in the game. I replied to one of them saying that people play the game to escape reality, and having that in the game would be a constant reminder of reality. Instantly got banned from the server. 1010 moderators. That's so funny. Dude, you're playing Helldivers. It is such a obviously fucking leftist game. I'm losing my mind, dude. It's so funny that these guys literally are just like consuming this product and then refusing to reckon with its politics because they're just like, I don't care. I don't care. It's about stop current daying me. I don't understand satire. I just want fascist soldiers killing people. No fucking pronouns, which is funny because like just like Starship Troopers, there are aspects of super democracy on super Earth that is very like very DEI. Starship Troopers had a lot of DEI baked into it. Like in that sense, it was also very prescient about how like fascism in the future is not simply going to be the fascism of the past, but will be homo-fascism. Starship Troopers had that, definitely. The men and women were they were all beautiful, but they were all, genderless almost in the way that they showered with one another. And the same thing you see in Helldivers as well, where, in the entry sequence, the white dude who's like, well, this happened to you, has a black wife and a black child. Like these are things that these are subtle cues or these are subtle clues into like what the world looks like or what they're trying to show as far as the advertising goes. So I think that those are other things that these fucking dipshits never fully understand or care about either. But new game idea, Milsim set in hyper-technologically advanced Atlantis and everyone's transgender will sell millions. So yeah. I'm from Buenos Aires. Johnny is white as fuck. Yeah, that part tracks with current Argentina. So I've gassed up Helldivers so fucking much for free. It's annoying that the Sony marketing team thought that like my politics I would be too controversial for the game. When in fact, I feel like the game itself and the developers itself, if they had to say over it, I feel like it'd be aligned 100% with my worldview. And it's so fun. No barking. Can you shit on it so the servers aren't full? No, I'm going to keep pumping it. Also, speaking of a place where my politics are not aligned at all. Look at this shit.
Where?
That is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. The fact that this dude is like supposed to be the fucking professional. Oh, confirmed blanks. Oh, they were blanks. He was just fucking with them. That's still stupid as fuck.
Where?
I think this right here is so fucking incredibly dangerous, blank or not, because that distance, even in a blank, would still fuck his shit up if it actually shot him in the foot. So I think a lot of people don't understand that. I think it's like deeply, deeply irresponsible. What is this? Alternative angle?
Oh my god! What the hell was that? He shot it. Cheeser.
Where?
Oh my god!
People are so dumb saying like, oh, it's all for show. Y'all are so dumb. It's like, no, he would have literally had his foot blown off. You shouldn't be carrying guns like that. Safety should be on at all times if you're carrying the fucking guns. He deliberately shot it, by the way. You see him pull the trigger. And yes, that's like incredibly irresponsible thing to do as like the guy who's supposed to be the gun safety guy, most likely there, except it's fucking Florida. So let's be real. That dude probably doesn't have to be as safe at all because it's fucking Florida. That's what happens in a libertarian paradise. You would never have a dude pull this shit in any other fucking state, okay? You would not have a dude pull that shit in fucking California, no matter how much of a hog or hogalina that guy is, and many people at gun ranges are. As you guys know, when I go to fucking ranges, Like, we go to the gun range all the time. I've been to the range in Nevada. I've been to the range in fucking Los Angeles. I've been to the range in Texas. It is always going to have dudes who are like very serious, very, very serious about gun safety. Usually when you have someone who's on camera, whose job is to fucking maintain the guns and keep the guns, they're like, obviously it's not going to be like a Hollywood set. It's not going to be like a Hollywood set, which is like super, super serious. And even then accidents do happen, like Brandon Lee, like the Alec Baldwin situation. But the purpose of the guy who's holding a gun, even if it's a toy gun, would still be to demonstrate safety. They usually, like, gun guys, at least like professional gun guys, will often stress the importance of things like that, because they still understand that, like, you know, guns are for killing and very dangerous if in untrained hands. Because the reality is, if you don't demonstrate proper gun safety as an instructor, then ultimately you are leaving your life in the hands of some fucking dipshit. If you don't demonstrate proper gun safety as the instructor and you're fucking around and you hand the gun over to the other dude, yeah, what if he doesn't have the safety on and he's just like fucking swinging that shit around in your direction? Shit on gun perverts all day, but gun safety is incredibly important to 99% of those guys. Yeah, exactly. Usually. That's like shocking to me that the guy did that. Shocking. Normally all those fucking hoo-ha, like all those hoorah dipshits are no matter how hog-like they are, they practice gun safety like a religion, especially on camera. Maybe not like when they're hanging out with their buddies or whatever. Anyway. But yeah, that's why gun control is important. Gun control is almost as important as top of the hour ad break control, which you can only achieve by subscribing for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, or by getting gifted a sub. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. All right, we're going to talk about the global shortages, or not global, sorry, nationwide cell outages. AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile hit by massive nationwide cell outages.
News right at the top, and a lot of Americans are feeling it right now. If you've had some trouble using your cell phone this morning, it's not just you. You're not alone.
Yeah, major carriers have been experiencing widespread outages all across the country, though AT&T is the most affected overnight. Users are on social media, and they're saying their cell service was down. They were unable to make or receive calls. Many are saying, though, texts appear to be working just fine. We're going to try to sort all this out with NBC's Brian Chung. Hey, Brian, good morning.
Good morning. Some pretty alarming issues here nationwide when it comes to the cell phone outages. So it's happening at 3 major carriers. It's happening at Verizon, AT&T, and also T-Mobile. AT&T appears to be the most affected with about 30,000 outages. It went down and then spiked back up alarmingly. We've also seen issues around 1,000 in number at Verizon and T-Mobile. And what seems like a good sign, AT&T outages, they did dip. But again, we're going to see whether or not after they've spiked again, can they really resolve those issues? Now, some of the most affected areas so far, they include San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, Atlanta. So it's happening in many pockets across the country. And there have been alarming reports from the San Francisco Fire Department that they can't get 911 calls. So this is really impacting some emergency services. We don't know what the reason is for the outage. The San Francisco Fire Department is saying in some cases you should try to use a landline, and we reach out to all of the companies for comment. We have not heard back since.
I mean, what's interesting is that it's more than one carrier. So, I mean, there's a range of possibilities, I suppose, and we just don't know yet what happened here.
Right. Like, is it something that could be hacking related? Is it something that could be weather related, satellite related? We don't know at the moment. We're trying to get more information, but we have not heard back yet.
But it's affecting big cities right now. That's where you're getting the most reports from.
Yeah,
major
and
cities.
Even anecdotally, I mean, even this morning we've heard of some of our own colleagues having issues reaching some of us by cell phone. But again, this is happening. It's still happening. We're trying to see how
interesting
they
also
resolve
that it's nationwide. There's not one region affected.
Right.
Yeah.
And nothing from the carriers. You said they haven't made any comment as to what's going on.
They have not, no. But again, we've been hearing of issues in South Carolina, in New York City as well. So again, it seemed like AT&T was able to make the number go down, but then it spiked back up again. So again, it's just, we're not out of the woods yet.
All right, stay on it, Brian.
Why immediately hacking? I mean, it makes sense. I don't think it's like, I don't think it's shocking. It's solar flares. It's definitely a possibility.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern.
The new fallout.
New guy plugged the wrong cable. I mean, it happened across the board. Should have upgraded the infrastructure instead of pocketed the tax incentives. So I'll keep it a $1.50. There are certainly issues in the way that the ISPs and major phone providers operate. Obviously, something I talk about quite frequently. However, having said that, I think maybe in this circumstance, it could be something that you, it could technically be something that you can't really deal with. Like it could be an external factor. 3 networks going down at the same time seems pretty solid, pretty big. Especially because like they share towers. I mean, sure. But I feel like if it was a solar flare, quote unquote, then it would impact everything and not just 3 major carriers, I assume. No? It was the Houthis? No, it wasn't the fucking Houthis, dog. No. If they did that, it would be major shortages globally if they cut the fucking cables in the bottom of the ocean, which they said they would never do. So they said that they were not going to do that anyway. It would impact everything. I don't know enough about it. So there's nothing I can say on this matter beyond the fact that it happened. And it made me, well, I was oblivious to it anyway because I was sleeping while it happened. So I didn't even see it. However, we are so fucking cooked. Our over-reliance on great coverage. I mean, yeah, not everything I'm talking about is going to be 100%. Like what do you want me to do? Lie to you like they're doing? Mainstream media doesn't know about anything when they're covering issues. Their producers just hand them talking points. The fuck do you mean? What do you want me to do? Lie to you in the same way that they do in order to like reaffirm my authority? No, I'm a fucking dude. I'm a dumbass. I tell you all the goddamn time. If it's something that I do know, I will tell you. They're talking heads. You want me to, if I'm going to speculate on it, I'm going to have to tell you that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about before that speculation if it's something that I'm not making an educated guess on. Anyway, the point I was trying to make is this. My takeaway from it is that although I did not experience this personally because I was sleeping while it was happening, I will say that our over-reliance on tech and our susceptibility to cyber attacks makes any kind of cyber warfare a genuinely dangerous prospect. So the greatest way to avoid such issues would probably be to ensure that there is peace, I think, with countries that have cyber warfare capabilities. So I don't know what else to say other than that, or just beef up our cybersecurity, I guess, even though I feel like it's no matter what happens, because humans are operating it, there's always going to be points of weakness, points of entry. Work for Karen allegedly from peers, an update from a vendor, Cisco, to back-end equipment. Yeah. However, yeah, we're talking about cyber warfare, but it could be something as simple as what that other chatter just mentioned. It could be something as simple as like one aspect, considering that it is all a lot of these companies operate off of the same infrastructure, and also a lot of the other providers in between, like the mediators on the back end, are basically oligopolies or monopolies. One company tweaking something along the line could literally fucking destroy an entire section and take out not just one, but multiple providers at the same time. So that is also likely. So I don't know. Last giant outage we had like this IPv4 bug in Cisco gear, which is half of the internet. Yeah, did a solar flare cause the AT&T outage? Here's what we know. I think the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration basically said, after two powerful solar flares, billions of times stronger than a hydrogen bomb, erupted from the sun Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. Experts say these flares, however, are probably not the reason why cellular service fizzled. Here's what we know about it. So the two big solar flares did occur. For those of you who don't know what solar flares are, it's basically this, as you can see. First one peaked on Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST. Second peaked at Thursday at 1:32 a.m. EST. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory captured an image of the event. It's the intense burst of radiation associated with sunspots that releases magnetic energy out into space, according to NASA. These giant explosions from the sun send energy, light, and particles through the solar system. Flares can last several minutes to several hours. Sometimes this burst of energy can cause geomagnetic storms on Earth. A geomagnetic storm is a major disturbance of Earth's magnetosphere, according to the NOAA. It's what happens if the exchange of energy from a solar flare reaches the space surrounding Earth through solar wind. What happens to Earth during a geomagnetic storm? When these storms heat Earth's upper atmosphere, they can cause beautiful auroras. That's why the Northern Lights, the aurora borealis, is visible to stargazers in some parts of the U.S. after a moderate geomagnetic storm. Scientists say particles from the solar flare get caught within the Earth's magnetosphere, causing the glowing red and green colors we see in the night sky. Are they dangerous? No, not directly, but the storms can disrupt navigation systems, radio waves, and power grids. It's like a big-ass EMP. And they do get, apparently, I did not know this, they get storm ratings like hurricanes. Solar flares are classified by their strength. The smallest are considered A and B class, according to NASA, followed by C, M, and X class, which are the largest. Each of the solar flares is also graded on a number scale 1 to 9 to determine the exact impact. One of the most powerful ones on record happened in 2003, which overloaded sensors measuring it. Scientists later estimated the flare to be about X45. Also, the solar flares can be 10 times the size of Earth. Those explosions. It's fucking awesome. In 1859, a geomagnetic storm was so strong it caused fires in telegraph wires. It created a coronal mass ejection from the sun colliding with the Earth's magnetosphere. It was associated with a very bright solar flare in 1859. It was observed and recorded independently by British astronomers. A geomagnetic storm of this magnitude occurring today would cause widespread electrical disruptions, blackouts, and damage due to extended outages of the electrical power grid. Yes, to be clear, awesome in the traditional sense of it causes awe and not that it would be cool or fun. Yes, bring back the proper usage of the word awesome. Awesome means mighty. It doesn't immediately mean good in the OG use of the word. Anyway, shock and awe. Unlikely, by the way, it says the experts on whether the solar flares caused the AT&T and Verizon outage. According to the NOAA, they said no apparent CMEs resulting from these events have been observed as of the time of this writing, but cannot be ruled out. Hours later, the agency weighed in on social media saying that AT&T and Verizon outage was unlikely related to the flares. I do feel like the way that the impact occurred, it's just so odd that it would only disrupt like certain carriers and not other forms of, like, not other things. You know what I mean? While solar flares can affect communication systems, radar, and the global positioning system, based on the intensity of the eruption and associated phenomena, it is highly unlikely that these flares contributed to the widely reported cellular network outages. It's like aliens. They only affect America? Yes. Exactly. NOAA said, don't blame that shit on us, Lemafau. Yeah, so that's it. That's the solar flare / is this on live? I'm on mobile. What the fuck? Anyway, let's get to a state that would never be affected by a potential EMP that is caused by a solar flare because they live in the motherfucking Neanderthal era. Alabama, America's worst state, Mississippi's favorite state, and America's worst state overall. Why is it Mississippi's favorite state? Because, well, it's the one state that makes them look good in comparison. That's right. Alabama Supreme Court has ruled that embryos are actually people. Like, straight up, nut is a person. We're getting closer and closer to the reality that if you nut like I did in a paper towel last night instead of on your mom, I basically did some genocide, okay? We are getting closer and closer to this reality. Woo! It's fucking awesome.
From the Alabama Supreme Court first of its kind ruling, I know you've heard about it, on frozen embryos created during in vitro fertilization. Now, Alabama's largest hospital now says it will put a pause on IVF treatments while it analyzes this ruling. The court decided that frozen embryos have the same rights as children. Meg Oliver is here with more on this decision. Meg, good morning. There's a heated discussion on both sides of this issue.
There certainly is. Good morning, Gail. This case stems from a wrongful death lawsuit from 3 couples who lost embryos at an Alabama fertility clinic. And now the court's decision has left people with fertility problems worried about the future.
34-year-old Jasmine York is from Alexander City, Alabama. She's the proud mother of a 13-year-old daughter, but can no longer have children. So she turned to IVF doctors at the University of Alabama at Birmingham.
I have no fallopian tubes due to ruptured ectopic pregnancies. We're supposed to transfer back in January and have had a couple of mishaps. And so we were really looking forward to March 20th was when I was supposed to transfer.
Is IVF your last hope to have a baby?
Yes. There is no other way.
The university said
this is one of the craziest parts about it because, like, when you're so desperate to like control what women can and can't do to their bodies, you end up going against the ultimate goal the secondary goal that you have. The primary goal for like this kind of stuff is just straight up to like abuse women, control them, deny them autonomy. And the secondary goal is to use them as basically baby factories, right? They want to make women into baby incubators and nothing else. However, in many of these circumstances, like when you ban abortion, for example, or criminalize abortion, you end up creating a process where like women that want to have children, want to carry pregnancies, the term, end up fucking dying and can't even do their baby incubation duties. And this is the other side of this. When you actually say that embryos are going to be considered people, then women who want to have children, which is what you want them to have children, the baby incubators, are not going to be able to have children. They're not going to be able to incubate babies. Now, obviously, it's far more damning than just this, but this is I guess, dark irony. The dark irony of it all is that if you want to improve population numbers, and that's why you're doing this like anti-abortion shit, you end up cooking yourself. Especially because, and here's the reality, we know this already, there's so much empirical evidence for this. Say it with me. Criminalizing abortion does not stop abortions. Time and time again, we have found out that criminalizing abortions does not stop abortions. It just changes into back alley abortions. The number of abortions that women have do not change when abortion is criminalized. Criminalizing abortion just stops safe abortions. That's it. Are Republicans this desperate for voters? I think it's pretty funny to say this because this is an issue that actually hurts Republicans. I think they're desperate for control and doing fascism, I guess, because it makes no goddamn sense beyond.
In a statement that it was pausing IVF out of concern physicians and even aspiring parents could face criminal punishment following the state court's decision, even if the hospital adheres to the proper standard of care.
What are you telling patients in Alabama today?
We're telling them that there remains a lot of uncertainty. We're not certain what is safe and legal for us to do with regards to IVF.
Dr. Mamie McLean is a physician at one of Alabama's largest fertility clinics.
We're taking this day by day. Ultimately, we're worried that there's going to be fewer babies born in Alabama because of this ruling.
Last night, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley spoke to our Gail King on CNN's King Charles about the court's decision.
What the question that I was asked is, do I believe an embryo is a baby? I do think that if you look in the definition, an embryo is considered an unborn baby.
York.
Wait, what happened to Slay Mama? I thought she was so reasonable and grounded. I thought the Democrats loved eating her. I thought she was gagging, Queen. What happened? Democrats loved propping her up as the savior of the Republican Party. What happened? Why is Slay Queen not mothering right now? I thought she was doing a cunt quake on the Kuntker scale that is above the 8 magnitude. What happened? What happened to Slaley, Nikki Slaley over here? Oh, turns out she's just a fucking Republican dipshit. So it doesn't matter. Please stop saying these words. See, Allah, no. God, I despise this shit, dude. Every part of this is just so busted.
Firmly disagrees.
These are not living children. If they were, things would be a lot different in my world and all of these other women's world. And we want living children. That's our goal.
The University of Alabama at Birmingham told us it has no idea how long IVF will be on hold. Dr. McLean, who works in a private practice, told us yesterday she was in meetings all day with lawyers trying to figure out next steps. Tony?
Meg, thank you very much.
Nikki Haley responded to the Alabama IVF ruling overnight with 2 days to go until the South Carolina Republican primary. She also spoke about Donald Trump's comments on her husband and military families. Rachel's on the trail in South Carolina. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, George, good morning to you. And Nikki Haley has tried to walk a fine line on the issue of abortion and reproductive rights. And now she's attempting to clarify her comments after signaling that she backs the Alabama Supreme Court decision.
This morning, Nikki Haley trying to clarify her comments on that Alabama Supreme Court ruling on IVF after stating she believed that embryos created through in vitro fertilization are babies.
I didn't say that I agreed with the Alabama ruling.
So what is the, I love this take. By the way, me and Nikki are matching currently, which is pretty funny. She's like, yeah, they are babies, but we should kill those babies. Is that what you're saying then? Yes, embryos are babies, but we should be murdering said baby. We should be fucking doing baby murder. Hello? I'm Nikki Haley, and I love baby murder.
What the question that I was asked is, do I believe an embryo is a baby? I do think that if you look in the definition, an embryo.
Bro, this is the more insane Republicans get about this issue, the more they basically become the memes. The meme in this circumstance is, oh, do you think, like back in the day, when I used to argue this issue online, one of the questions I would always bring up would be, oh, you think embryos are children? Do you think fertilized eggs are children? So in that circumstance, if there's a fire in a hospital and you have one actual alive baby, like child, and you have 1,000 fertilized eggs, do you save? And you have only the capacity to save one of those things. Either you save the one baby, okay, that has been born, versus the fertilized eggs. That's 1,000 fucking potential life. Who do you save? You save the baby, right? And people would argue against that by saying, well, it's not the same. It's not the same circumstances. Like, obviously, there's differences here. And it's like, they have basically decided, like, no, they are actually children. I would save the 1,000 embryos. 1,000 fertilized eggs, which is crazy. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because to a normal person, this does not translate as like a normal thing. You explain this concept to any human that isn't like completely fucking brain poisoned, and isn't like some psychotic debate pervert evangelical, okay? Even evangelical Christians would most likely, if they're not like weird debate guys, would hear that question and go, no, I'd save the fucking baby. What do you mean? That's a live baby. And I'm telling you, we are officially moving down the fucking pipeline and inevitably getting to a point where like nutting is actually illegal, which is awesome. I love that. I love that like they are leaning into the memes, okay? This is sickening. Ectopic pregnancies are A-okay, but no IVF. No abortion with this connotation. The IVF isn't real children, yet they think embryos are babies. Yeah. Do you think someone in the Republican Party might be trying to kill their own chances so Donnie doesn't come to power? No. I think that they are trapped. They are suffering from their success. This is a outside of Donald Trump issue. Okay? There's two conflicting forces at play here. Do they keep leaning into their audience? And if that is the case, they have to increase the intensity. Or do they now decide, okay, we have to dial it back a little bit and lose one of the major motivators for the white evangelical base that makes up a big chunk of their most passionate fans? This is part of the reason why I always used to say, I don't think Republicans are actually going to ban abortion. That would be unimaginably bad for them, because having that threat that they can always point to was great for them. It was a major motivator for them. And also, losing that would be unimaginably bad. Losing that threat and actually following through on it would show to the entire country how unpopular this is and how they were willing and able to do this undemocratic thing. And they did that. They lost a major wedge issue. It's very stupid. Can I claim embryos as dependence on taxes? Of course not. Obviously, none of that makes sense. There is no logical consistency here. Clearly, it does not matter.
Is considered an unborn baby. And so, yes, I believe from my stance that that is.
Asked about the far-reaching consequences of the ruling for women in Alabama, Haley attempting to frame the conversation as a debate over parental.
No, this is not Taliban-level governance, dog. Don't do that. Don't say that shit. Obviously, Taliban is very fundamentalist and get a lot wrong. But this is America's own, okay? Don't point to things that are happening in Al-Qaeda, okay, and then go, oh, this is just like those other guys over there overseas. Also, in many Muslim countries, abortion is legal, for the record. It's a legal procedure and oftentimes state-funded. So don't be like, oh, this is some real Islamic fundamentalist shit. It's like, no, dog. Hassan, #1 Taliban defender? Fuck no, I'm not defending the goddamn Taliban, dumbass. I'm parsing through this. I'm separating this from Taliban shit. You want to know why I'm separating it? Because this is our homegrown extremist fundamentalism. And for many Americans, they think it's only over there. They think it's only brown people that do this kind of weird shit. They think it's only Muslims that do this kind of shit. Not realizing that, like, we have our own fucking snow apes here in America that does that exact same shit. That's it. It's not Taliban, it's Talibama. We must take triggered keg W. Yeah. Well, don't worry. Once they make nutting illegal, you're going to fucking perma-jail, Sailor Scout. Anyway, we are not civilized. We present ourselves as civilized. We act like we are civilized. We fancy ourselves as civilized, but we are not. This is important to understand. I want people to see that reality. We are not the civilized people that we claim we are, that we present ourselves as, that we see ourselves as. Okay? Speaking of unimaginably stupid things that the Republican Party is doing as they desperately seek out other wedge issues to look for, here was a really good, here was another great, dude. One of the things I hate about new Twitter is that, like, when I search shit on Twitter, it never shows me who I interact with the most. Like, I'm looking for Will Menaker here, and I type in Will, and it shows me like random people I don't follow in my search bar. I'm like, dude, I don't know who the fuck these people are. Why are you showing me that? Obviously, I'm looking for, like, at the top of that fucking search bar should be people that I'm actually following and talking to. God damn. This platform is so fucking stupid. Anyway, like I was saying, speaking of things that the Republican Party is looking for, here's the Heritage Foundation coming out against another fun wedge issue, I guess. Here's a good wedge issue that they found.
I hear from a great many young women who were put on the pill at the age of 14 and came off it, so maybe 10 years later, and realized they'd done a complete personality flip. And actually, they, you know, I was, you know, one said, and I quote, I thought I was bipolar. But then it turned out actually it was just this psychoactive substance that I'd been. What were they doing to me? And this is all, and this was all to the purpose of rendering a woman receptive to what is, for the most part, loveless and sometimes extremely degrading sexual access. And I struggle to see in what way that's in women's interests. And given the great many other things that, to my eye, are downstream of the entry into that paradigm, it seems to me that a good place to start would be a feminist movement against the pill and for rewilding sex, returning the danger to sex, returning the intimacy.
She's pulling a Dworkin. She's like, was it Andrea Dworkin who said, like, sex under a misogynistic patriarchal structure would be rape in every circumstance, is what she would be, is what she's basically saying here. Was that Andrea Dworkin? I don't know, but I think it was. Anyway, she's like, she's doing that, but in a reactionary way. That's awesome. Femcells, rise up, baby.
And really the consequentiality to sex. And a great deal follows from an intentional reconnection of women's opting intentionally to reconnect with the fullness of our embodied nature.
I love that. A good place to start for the Heritage Foundation is against the pill for returning to the consequentiality of sex. Conservatives have led the way in restoring sex to its true purpose and ending recreational sex and senseless use of birth control pills. And this is from May 27, 2023. This is from last year, chat. This is not like they are openly fucking saying that they want to ban the birth control pill because their ultimate goal is to make sex not for pleasure, but consequential, a punishment. Sex is a punishment. Which, by the way, ending recreational sex, now there's a political platform with broad popular appeal to everyday regular folks, says Will. Is a femcel a female terrorist? Is a female incel? It is. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, by the way, the Alabama Chief Justice who invoked God in deciding the Embryo case. Look at this fucking pedophile-looking ass. Look at this pedophile-looking ass Snow Roach. Okay? Look at this motherfucker, Chief Justice Tom Parker. He got the glasses on and everything. Okay? God damn. Chief Justice Tom Parker has long been revered by conservatives as an architect for the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This is, by the way, from 2006. Tom Parker announced his plans to run for Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court in Montgomery in 2006. Okay? Alabama Supreme Court, by the way, wonderful place. Wonderful place. If you guys remember, we had, obviously, outed pedophile Roy Moore. He famously was on the Alabama Supreme Court, where he did wonderful, fun things like I think he put the 10 Commandments outside of the courthouse or something. Like so really good place overall. Here's Roy Moore. Roy Moore, of course, is the 27th and 31st Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in Alabama. Don't make fun of him. He's inbred. I will always make fun of him. You're on one today, Lamau. The do-rag changed you forever. Yeah. This is the world we live in, baby. This is the fucking world we live in. It's fucking dope. It's awesome. That's where we're at now. Moore sought the Republican nomination for governorship in Alabama in 2006 and 2010, but lost in the primaries. And then he also famously was elected again as Chief Justice in 2013, but was suspended in May 2016 for defying a U.S. Supreme Court decision about same-sex marriage, and resigned in April 2017. This was, it's always these guys that are like, yeah, gay people are pedophiles, and then like they are the ones who are actually pedophiles. You know what I mean? Roy Moore famously can't go to the fucking mall near his house in Alabama because the local authorities have banned him from said mall because he used the mall to predate on minors. Just wonderful, wonderful lineup these fucking conservatives have. You know what I mean? It's great. It's awesome. Sick. Ah. And of course, QAnon is involved. During a recent interview with QAnon conspiracy theorist, the Alabama Supreme Court Justice indicated that he's a proponent of the Seven Mountain Mandate, which calls on Christians to impose fundamentalist values on all aspects of American life. Bobo herself is a Seven Mountain Mandate adherent. That's right. Chief Justice Tom Parker's recent concurrent opinion in a case granting rights to the Embryos drew criticism for invoking religious language. I love people being like, wow, so the separation of church and state was a lie? Yeah, no shit, dog. Laicite is not for Christians. Secularism is for Muslimans, okay? Not for anybody else. Be for fucking real. Secularism is for our enemies. Islam. That's who we use it against. It's not supposed to be for Christianity. One nation under God, indivisible. Hallelujah. Now, if you thought there was a separation of church and state, try taking a drive to Utah. Yeah. So, I only use the Lord's name in vain. Anlo is a pro-Trump prophet and leading proponent of the Seven Mountain Mandate, a quasi-biblical blueprint for theocracy. These guys are so I'm getting a hiccup. These guys are so fucking insane. No Kai today? No, she's here. She's just sleeping. Let's continue.
Parental rights.
This case was based on and should be based on the rights of those parents for their embryos and to make sure that they have the responsibility with the doctors on how those are handled. Nothing more than that.
But the decision does raise questions about when life begins. With the South Carolina primary just 2 days away, Nikki Haley still far behind Donald Trump, ramping up her attacks on the former president.
And then you look at Donald Trump. There's nothing normal about mocking members of the military. There's nothing normal about...
God, she's such a pussy-ass Democrat. It's so funny. Like, obviously, when push comes to shove, every Republican is going to still show their true colors. But I love Nikki Haley for basically also adorning the aesthetics of the Democrats, which is being a fucking loser. Being a petulant crybaby loser, which is what the Democrats are best at, right? It's great. It's a lose-lose. Like, she has the bad policies of the Republican Party, and she has the loser aesthetics of the Democratic Party. So if you want to know who is like the absolute worst person in their understanding of like American politics, look no further than the 8 people that love Nikki Haley. It's great. Are Republicans cooked after Trump? He's the only one who can sell the Groyper policies. Not necessarily. The Republicans post-Trump are going to be like the Democrats post-Obama. Okay? It's just a race to the bottom anyway. So they do have internal problems that they have to overcome as a party. and steer the ship in the right direction. However, ultimately, it's not like they have really solid competition. Trump is white man's Obama. 100%. A charismatic orator for that party's specific policies. The Democratic Party's policies are also neoliberal in the same way that the Republican Party's policies are. And Obama did a very good job of basically neutering the left, destroying the left entirely, like leftist momentum entirely, by capturing progressivism and bottling it for neoliberal action. But his charisma is the reason why he was so popular, and his charisma is the reason why he is still seen as a very popular candidate. Especially after Trump, by the way, being sandwiched between George W. Bush and Donald Trump. Oh my God, what a beautiful situation. Obama will always be the liberal Ronald Reagan in the way that he is received by the parties. Like, he will always be defended as one of the greatest presidents of all time, even though he was not a great president. So, I don't get the whole Trump is charismatic. Everywhere else in the world, he's seen as an overly arrogant, dumb old man. Yes, because European Trumps, there are plenty of people like Trump in Europe, like corrupt, autocratic neoliberals, but they still carry the veneer of elitism. That's the difference. That's why Europeans look to Trump and think of him as a brash person. But he is very charismatic. He's reflective of like what the American hogs want. That's it. Because like, look at Berlusconi, look at Sarkozy, look at all of these other figures who were also very much corrupt in almost identically laughable ways in European politics. There has always been corrupt charlatans. I would say Berlusconi, one of my favorite politicians of all time. Berlusconi is like super similar to Trump in many ways. So you definitely have a lot of characters, but because they're European, they still have the European elitist veneer. Does that make sense? Trump, on the other hand, is like nouveau riche in the same way that Sarkozy was. However, Trump is very much like an American product. Orban was just a CPAC event not long ago. I mean, Orban is like the obvious analog, but we're not talking about that. I'm talking about like other European countries, like Western European countries that have their own versions, but people don't immediately think of those guys as like Trumpian. Yeah. Listen, I said this in 2016 that Donald Trump was very similar to Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Like, there is Trumpian figures all around the world. There are Trumpian figures everywhere. There are cathedrals all around for those with eyes to see. There are Trumps all around for those with the eyes to see. That's it. There are top of the hour ad breaks for those with eyes to see as well. Of course, sometimes you don't see it because you're already subscribed and therefore it doesn't bother you. If you want to be one of those people, then all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. France is getting closer and closer to the USA. Like, there's a part of the population that lives in an alternative reality due to the extreme TV. Yes, this is happening all around the world, okay? Fascism is on the rise globally. I keep repeating this over and over again. Nazis lost, but the idea won, okay? Liberalism carried the torch, and inevitably liberal capitalism will revert back to fascism because fascism is a necessity when capitalism is in crisis. Fascism reasserts Fascism reasserts authority when capitalism is in decay. When capitalism is in crisis, fascism comes in to defend capitalism. And capitalism's crash is inevitable. It might happen 10 years from now. It might happen 100 years from now, but it is an inevitability. Something that I see and try to urge against, but, you know, welfare state protocols have inadvertently extended a lifeline to capitalism time and time again in our boom bust cycles. However, the crash is inevitable. Marx was right. But here is Nikki Haley going back to the inevitability of fascism.
About taking $50 million of campaign contributions and spending it on your own personal court cases?
Trump has mocked Haley.
Speaking of which, DM25 reached out to me and said that they're going to put me in contact with Giannis. So I'm going to email him as well.
Haley's husband, who was serving a one-year deployment overseas as a major in the Army National Guard. Haley addressing Trump's comments in an interview with ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
We saw you sort of fight back against him when he mentioned your husband and his deployment. That really ticked you off.
I mean, look, it's not personal for me and Michael. We can handle that. It's personal when you think of military families. They go through a lot. Don't make light of that. To me, veterans are off limits. Don't talk about them. Don't say anything, because every freedom Donald Trump has is because of the men and women in our military. And he would never know it.
Nikki Haley has really ramped up her attacks on Donald Trump in the final stretch. The question now, is it too little, too late? She's still trailing the former president here by more than 30 points. And of course, this is her home state, Robin.
It is. All right, Rachel, thank you.
House Republicans are pushing on with their impeachment inquiry into.
All right, we're not going to get to the impeachment inquiry yet. I'm not done with this fucking abortion nonsense. This abortion of an abortion nonsense. So as we were talking about, the second Alabama provider has now officially stopped IVF care after court has deemed that embryos are children. This, in my opinion, is a devastating attack towards individual liberties, for medical freedom that women have, medical freedom that everyone has in the state of Alabama. It is, it's also counterproductive. It's also idiotic. It also will backfire on the Republican Party. Love that, of course, the very basis of the Republican agenda is supposed to be small government, and yet they consistently push to put the government in between a person and their doctor when making medical decisions. Our embryos are now trapped at a closed clinic. The wrongful death court case also stemmed from a patient walking through an unsecured door into the freezer, holding the embryos, dropping them, and killing them. I foresee another, since conservatism is all about like scaling back on new scientific achievements, I think that like the next wave of conservatism will probably be going back to like stem cell research, you know, going back to the Bush era. Obviously, theory of evolution being banned in schools, and stem cell research being banned as well. I don't know if you can like put the toothpaste back in the tube, but I suspect that they are. I suspect that they will push for that as well, which is again self-defeating. But it's yet another mechanism of control. So we'll see. This is also, for those of you who don't understand this, absolutely on the hands of the Democrats for two different reasons. One, because when shit like this happens, they are supposed to fight back, and they do not do that. They don't do it effectively. They simply sit back and enjoy the show and take advantage of the wonderful election opportunities it gives them. That's number one. But the real reason why I shit on the Democratic Party is not the first reason, but it's instead because the Democratic Party when they don't push for progressive legislation, when they are in power, because they don't actually move the needle, they don't dominate the conversation. So reactionary politicians dominate the narrative and find new wedge issues. If the Democratic Party were to actually push for legislation that moves the needle, that creates like unironic protections for trans people, if they were focusing on, pushing some kind of gun control, even at the executive office, if they were court packing, if they were blowing up the Supreme Court with additional justices and whatnot, then the Republicans would at least have something to fight against. They would have something that they would have something to assume a position on, to separate themselves from the Democratic Party. But when there is no Democratic Party legislation, when there's no Democratic Party action moving the needle in the direction of progress, then all you're left with in this fake duopoly that we have, right, the false choice that we have, where you need wedge issues to separate the Democrats from the Republicans, is what Republicans decide. That's why they create fake problems out of nothing. They try to invent problems where no such problems exist. One thing that they tried and failed to do so was the trans issue, which is not an issue at all unless you are fucking brain broken. The notion that like trans people are somehow dangerous. But of course, they tried and did that with like bathroom bills, and that failed on its face. So they went back, they focus tested it, and realized, how can we repackage this? We can repackage this by talking about not just trans issues, but about the fairness in sports, trans women in sports. That's unfair because sports is one of the only places where everyone understands there's some semblance of meritocracy. So if they were to package or repackage the anti-trans legislation with sports, then they would get a significant amount of they would be able to get a lot more people on board. Now, obviously, the anti-trans panic is not a sole motivator for people to go out and vote. It only got, the weirdest people on board, people who were just like totally brain broken with transphobia. So it wasn't enough for them to win shit in statewide elections all around the country. The supposed red wave that never came in the midterms basically proved this reality. And yet they still kept going. They still kept messaging. And now we're at this situation where, like, will there be enough people that are brain broken with transphobia inevitably for that to be a singular sole motivator for people to go out and vote? Or will it be an inevitable dud that that doesn't really matter because Republicans don't even care about, like, legislating from the federal level anyway? That's where we're at currently. Very dangerous prospect, but one that is absolutely the fault of the Democratic Party for two different reasons, as I explained. One, because they don't actually push for progressive legislation that causes the Republicans to have to fight against that. And if there is no progressive legislation that they have to fight against, the Republicans will dominate the conversation with more regressive legislation. And if the Democrats don't actually put up a fight against the regressive legislation and set up defenses against said regressive legislation, you arrive at what is now colloquially known as the ratchet effect. Republicans push the country further and further into regressive policies, more restrictive, more authoritarian forms of governance at the state level. Democrats come into power because those policies are deeply unpopular and people are terrified of them. And then what do? Well, they calcify said positions and they normalize said positions, inevitably pushing the Overton window further and further right. That's it. What is this?
You find more women go in those places with shorts than you will women with pants and dresses put together. Try it. If you got time, try it. Have your boy go up there and try it. Just watch for it. Have your girl go up there and watch for it. And I used to say this. I haven't said this in a long time. You ready? I said, if you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free. You don't like, do you? I'm right, though. I can't help feel like I'm right. Because, a man's a man. You find more women go in those places with shorts than you will women with pants.
Demonic. I fucking hate old people. Holy shit. No, dude, this is like a different kind of demonic nonsense, okay? This is your brain on Christofascism. This is your brain on evangelical Christianity. If we, as people who sometimes inevitably vote for the Democratic Party, do not get the Democratic Party to push for more progressive legislation for the Republicans to focus on, this inevitable cycle is going to continue and we are going to regress further. But what is the Democratic Party doing? That's right. This is what they're doing. White House is considering executive action to restrict migrants' ability to seek asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border if they crossed illegally. This is basically a executive action that solidifies Title 42 without the supposed COVID fears. Obviously, it was always bullshit. The whole notion that migrants had COVID and COVID fears by the Trump administration, by the way, which said COVID was fake and not a problem at all, except for migrants. The Trump administration utilized the CDC to implement Title 42 to restrict migrants' abilities to seek asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border. If this had happened under Trump, which it did, Title 42 did happen under Trump, a lot of people were understandably angry about it. So what the fuck are we doing? What? Actually now show Islamic moderates? Now show Islamic fundamentalists? What are you talking about? Now show Islamic moderates? What does Islam have to do with this? Do you think... Here's a couple things that you need to understand. Number one, in the United States of America, yeah, just curious if you had smoke for them too. I do have smoke for Islamic fundamentalists. Of course I do. If you personally think that there are Islamic fundamentalists in the United States of America that have any sort of moving power in terms of dictating the legislative agenda of either party, you are a paranoid schizophrenic who is currently deep in a cycle of hallucination, and you need to get your lithium prescription refilled instantly. Okay? I need you to understand this. You immediately need to get your medication because you have lost your fucking mind. We are currently talking about American politics. Having said that, there are Muslims living in the United States of America, and time again, they have shown to be more progressive. They have been more progressive than white evangelical Protestants. There is empirical evidence to show this. The Pew Center of Research polls Muslims all the time. Muslims in the United States of America are more tolerant towards LGBT rights and many other issues than white evangelical Protestants. Muslims, however, even if they were intolerant in the United States of America, which they're not, would still not be able to dictate policy in the same way that white evangelical Protestants do for the Republican Party. So, of course, when I'm talking about the United States of America and our legislation, our legislative agenda, okay, I'm going to probably focus on white evangelical Protestants a little bit more, considering that they dictate policy in incredibly regressive ways here. But of course, you can sit around and cope and go, well, there are fundamentalists overseas. There are fundamentalists elsewhere, and they're bad. Okay, do you live there? I'm an American citizen. I'm an American political commentator. I talk about American politics. Why are you so fucking desperate to be like, oh, well, I don't know, all these other places that have been fucking destroyed by American imperialism have incredibly reactionary fundamentalist policies because those are the groups that we propped up that got into power after we left a sea of destruction. Conservatism is conservatism. Fundamentalism, religious fundamentalism, is the same no matter where you are. I love your name is, I love the fact that your name is also Raging Empath, by the way. Reverend Catino, but will you show them though? Can we just take some time to look at pics of them? Yeah. Winky face. Yeah. I love dudes that come in here thinking that they're like brilliant interlocutors that made a point that I haven't heard a million times over and be like, well, I just trolled you with my brilliance in the marketplace of ideas. Don't ban me. No, I'm not going to ban you. I love having fucking dumbass losers like you in the chat with incredibly stupid arguments that end up derailing a little bit, but it's fun to just like shit on you. Oh, come on. What do you mean? Oh, come on. We're talking about the United States of America, American politics and fundamentalism. You go, what about Islamic fundamentalism? What do you mean? What Islamic fundamentalism exists in the United States of America? What kind of political power does Islamic fundamentalism have in the United States of America? It's like when I talk about fucking gun control here and you go, well, there's a lot of gun violence in Rwanda. It's like, okay, so what? Am I in fucking Rwanda or am I in America? Is that what we should be tailoring our policy off of? It's just copium. What you're engaging in is copium. You are seeing material conditions decay in front of your eyes and basically fucking turning around and going, well, there are places that are worse. Yeah, there are. And there are places that are better as far as like specific policies that we're talking about, but you never bring those up. Seek within yourself why you immediately rush to be like, well, what about Muslims? My man said where? If we're talking about gun policy, pretty much every OECD nation that is not the United States of America has infinitely better gun safety measures. If we're specifically talking about religious fundamentalism, again, pretty much every other OECD nation that is not the United States of America. A lot of people will point to like Catholic countries or even place like Ireland and say, well, those guys have restrictive abortion processes, or European countries have restrictive abortion processes, and they don't fucking realize that most of those countries it's a non-issue. It's government funded. They have public health care and the government provides abortions because it's a medical procedure. Yeah, even Ireland legalized it 4 years ago too. Also, he's a debate pervert and is by definition whataboutisming you. I know, it is. That's why I said it is complete copium. Whenever I tune in, it's just USA bad, it's just tiring. You're right, I should lie and tell you that Christian fundamentalism that dictates American policy is actually good so you can feel better. The fuck is wrong with you? I am an American citizen. I'm an American political commentator covering American domestic politics. Of course, I'm going to tell you when things are bad. Why would you want me to lie to you and tell you things are good? Do you want me to just not cover incredibly important pieces of legislation and Supreme Court decisions in places like Alabama that have now decided that embryos are fucking people? It's so sad that this kind of criticism is phenomenally hollow. This is the number one thing that I hear from my naysayers nowadays is, Hassan, your policies or your coverage is always just USA bad. Okay, tell me why USA good. Let's have that conversation. It never scratches the surface. You just go, oh, you just think America's bad. You're an America hater. You know who used to say that all the time before the debate perverts on YouTube decided that that was like my assessment and nothing else? Motherfucking Steven Crowder. Do you think this is a new thing? pointing to someone and being like, that's a guy who hates America is a fundamental piece of argumentation for the right. Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, and those fucking dipshits used to do this guy's an America hater. Notice how he has nothing going on here beyond you just say America bad and nothing else. I'm not even a naysayer. It just seems like the West is the best. Yeah, I know. Okay, Proud Boy. What happened to so many liberals that they basically shit on the Proud Boys for doing Western chauvinism of this sort, and then only 4 years later turning around and doing it themselves? What do you mean the West is the best? What is the West in general? I've shown you other examples of Western nations, OECD nations, that have infinitely better policies than the United States of America, and now you just basically fucking put it under an umbrella of West is best. Do you think every Western country is the same? I'm really not. It's just years of hearing how we suck, years, lol. You're crying and coping. You have been totally captured, where you've decided to negatively polarize against the messenger instead of understanding what the message is and trying to do something about it. Instead of internalizing what I'm telling you and maybe thinking in a charitable way, you've turned around and decided, I must be wrong because it hurts your feelings. This is reactionary thinking. Kill the reactionary inside of your brain. Engage in self-criticism. Seek within yourself. Develop a better understanding of how things work. Improve yourself. Okay? Yeah, literally just repeating shit they've heard from their edgy friends or their favorite centrist YouTuber. Exactly. It's crazy. I'm over here talking about how our house is on fire that we live in, and this guy's coming in and going, well, the other houses are also on fire down the block, a zip code over. I'm like, okay, but like our house is on fire. I'm so not that type of person, but I easily could be. We know, brother. We know you are that type of person. That's why I'm telling you, kill the reactionary inside of your mind. Kill the bigot inside of you. We all have it. We all have it because we are a product of our conditioning, of our social development. And our social development is reflective of the material conditions that we exist in. You literally are doing the meme right now of, well, I wasn't a fucking Nazi until these guys went really far ahead with their criticisms of the West. Do you understand that that's not a threat? There are a million people like you. I am currently having this conversation with you so that you can understand that you have that inside of you, and I'm trying to tell you to fucking squash it and think critically. Do you get it? These guys went too far with this Western criticism, so I became a Nazi. Well, you're a fucking baby then. Do you have no moral backbone? Do you have no decency? Is a question you should ask yourself. Am I that malleable that this guy talking about the problems that other people in society, in the society that I live in, are facing, and that made me angry at him? That made me shoot the messenger instead of understanding what the message is. How is he a Nazi? What? No, I'm not saying he's a Nazi. The meta, the meme, always amongst many like alt-right people are, oh, you radicalized me into being a Nazi, actually. You went too far with this whole LGBT nonsense, and now look what you did. Now I am a Nazi who thinks climate change is fake. I don't think that that guy is a Nazi. Look what you made me do. Take accountability for your actions and take accountability. Take accountability for your actions and take accountability for the internal voice that you have, okay? Self-crit is important. Wait, what? Oh, this guy. Wait, what the fuck? How come black Americans are allowed to openly hate white people, but they can't openly hate Jewish people? The problem is when you tell me that Jews don't run the media, I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary. Oh my God, this dude said, I promise you I'm not a Nazi. Never mind. Oops. Never mind, dude. Oh. Every fucking time, brother. people who want to defend Western civilization never want to define it, and then almost always have these little oopsie moments. How is that possible? What community, I wonder, this guy came from? That is not a Nazi point of view. Holy smokes. Jews control the media is not a Nazi point of view? What is the difference between... Wait, what? I want to have this guy on guest. I want to guest star this dude. What, like, if that's not a Nazi point of view, I don't know what is. There's no way. Well, it doesn't make me mad. I love Hollywood. I love music. I love Jewish run Hollywood and Jewish run music. They control all of the media, but I love it. So how can I be a Nazi? Yeah, this is the meme I was referencing. The left got a little too PC, so I changed all my opinions about the economy, social issues, systemic racism, healthcare, and history. I don't think it's a conspiracy to undermine white people. What? This is a child. He has to be. I think he's just a Kanye fan. It's a good example, for the record. I think this is a good example personally of like how normalizing these kinds of anti-Semitic tendencies creates a larger barrier of comfort for people to have opinions like this. Does that make sense? Like, this unironically, I think is a consequence of a consequence of the Kanye West nonsense, getting way too much coverage. It rots people to the core, and there's many different versions of it, but this is one of them. It's a dangerous prospect. I have zero animus. Yeah, Jews control the media, but I have zero animus towards them. Brother, there are people of many different backgrounds in positions of power in media conglomerates. If there's one uniting principle as far as their motivations and the way that they fucking operate, is that they are almost in all of the cases operated by their capitalist interests. Okay? Don't fucking sit here and act like Jews are a monolith and have some kind of monolithic perception, monolithic perspective, and operate for, I don't know, Jewish interests, and then go around and be like, how is that anti-Semitic? Especially in a country like the United States of America, which in my opinion is a WASP supremacist nation, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant supremacist nation. The overwhelming majority of people in positions of power are still white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Oh my God. Close this chatter. He's being dead serious. You're getting baited by this dude now is just farming. I'm farming him. This is just a Kanye West, not a fan, but the man himself. Do you think personally that Jews run the media, as you have said here in this log? If the answer to that is yes, then that is anti-Semitic thinking. It's that simple. I hope you understand that. I'm going to move on from this. Okay? Ascribing any factor or characteristic to a group based on religion, race, or religion alone, something that the group has inherently, is racist, anti-Semitic, etc., based on that group. That's the entire deal, chatter, if you are reading this. Yes. But he'll turn around and be like, well, you do the same to white people, not understanding that whiteness is a political designation that is literally a substitute for power, whereas blackness, on the other hand, is a political designation as well that was created to minimize and to otherize an entire group of people that were enslaved and historically marginalized. So, of course, there's a distinction between the two. you are not, quote unquote, white. That's the same reason as to why many, quote unquote, white people don't see me as white, despite the fact that I'm pasty as shit. What about in South Africa? White people are, what are you asking me? What about in South Africa, where white people are a minority by numbers? Asking what about people in South Africa is like saying billionaires are a minority, because billionaires are not marginalized, even though they are a minority. White people in South Africa are not marginalized, even though they are in the minority. Post-apartheid in South Africa, white people still maintain 90% of the land in South Africa, despite making up 10% of the population. Anyway, he definitely thinks there's a Jewish conspiracy that to run the world, but you're saying Jews run the media here. That is, you've said the exact same thing. What the fuck do you mean? Anyway, I can't I can't deal with this anymore. It's just like, Jews run the media is the introduction to Jews run the world by controlling the media. That's where this comes from. How are you not just seething in resentment towards these dickheads all the time? I like to be as charitable as I possibly can to the maximum extent. That's it. Anyway. Also, remember, this guy basically, shut the fuck up, hopefully, Equinox. I'm not going to play Helldivers in the middle of the goddamn day, okay? 2 hours in when I'm doing political coverage. What the fuck is, come on. Jesus Christ, dude. Chatters go crazy in here sometimes. Anyway, I'm not going to get mad at you. I shouldn't have yelled or popped off. I'm just mad at the other chatter. And I'm not even mad at him. I'm mad at the stupidity and the lack of interest in self-reflection. Oh, now that I fucking yelled at Hopeful Equinox, it turned into everyone basically saying, no, play my favorite game instead. Or play this other favorite game. Notice how this conversation originally started, for the record, because that one chatter that I was responding to came at this by saying, I love the Western world. I can see myself becoming more radicalized in that direction because of all of the things that I'm seeing about the Western world. And then we found out that he was talking about how, that Jews run the media. And now he's like defending that position. Anyway. Let's continue. Yeah, he's like, I'm talking about like American Christian fundamentalism and how much swaying power it has. And the dude came in hot with like, what about Muslim fundamentalism? As though there's like some Islamic Sharia that is a threat to the United States of America's existence, or secretly controlling America in the way that like very openly white Christian fundamentalists, white evangelical Protestants are able to openly make demands of the Republican Party that the Republican Party enthusiastically consents to and follows through on, and the damaging aspects of such weird fundamentalist principles. Anyway. Chatters will look at WASPs taking away bodily autonomy from women and say, what about Muslims and Jews? Yeah. Anyway, the situation is dire, folks. Court Chief Justice Tom Parker drew on more than the Constitution and legal precedent to explain his determination. By the way, he openly stated human life cannot be wrongfully destroyed without incurring the wrath of a holy God. He wrote in a concurring opinion that invoked the book of Genesis and the prophet Jeremiah and quoted at length from the writings of the 16th and 17th century theologians. Even before birth, he added, all human beings have the image of God and their lives cannot be destroyed without effacing his glory. It's awesome. What happened this year? Did politicians just stop pretending the separation of church and state exists, or am I crazy? I mean, it's been going on for a while. They sure try. As I showed you, Roy Moore did this already with the Obergefell decision when he was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Alabama. This is something that Alabama always tries. The difference, of course, is that the Supreme Court in prior years was at least not supermajority owned and dominated by reactionary right-wingers. It's never really stopped. It's just that there was at least some institutions that would operate as a bottleneck, but said institutions have been far too focused on eviscerating any kind of leftist momentum. And of course, that is part of the reason why. They've just decided that these institutions are there to do that and nothing else. And now we find ourselves in this reactionary shithole. Yes, they were always quoting the Bible and shit. The reason why you see more of it, however, is because more of it is happening. And the other reason why you're seeing more of it is because they feel more galvanized. Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't white supremacists feel more emboldened when they get to dominate, not just when Trump is in power, but even when Brandon is in power? Why shouldn't they feel like they can get away with whatever the fuck they want? If there are no consequences, if there's no one saying, hey, you better fucking put an end to this, stop this shit right now. If there are no protective measures being implemented by the Democratic opposition, the Democratic Party's opposition, then of course they're going to be like, well, there's no one that can defy us. Air raids out in Dropnir's capital. This is a Helldivers HDNN, baby. You haven't missed the John Oliver react yet. We haven't done it yet. Anyway, here's Senator Tim Cook.
Two more guys. Senator Trump has said that that you campaign better for him than you do for yourself. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think that the whole concept of James 4:10, which I struggled with on the campaign trail, my campaign, we've had lots of conversations publicly and privately about the importance of how do you exalt yourself and promote yourself while remaining humble. I've struggled with that on the campaign trail. Now, having a conversation about the future of America and President Trump being that leader is very easy. There's no internal conversation about when are you doing too much self-promotion. So the truth of the matter is that I'm far better encouraging and being excited and motivated for President Trump than I was for myself, so I don't have that internal debate going on.
Just a fucking humiliating person, ritualistically debasing and humiliating himself very publicly. Oh, CPAC is back, baby. And let me tell you, there is a wonderful January 6th themed pinball machine at CPAC, which features some of our faves. And to them, I say, glory, glory, hallelujah. Okay. I would love to play this. I think it's awesome. Brace can't be the only guy that has all the fun. Okay. We're doing Hogwatch, baby. Hogwatch CPAC edition is back. One of my favorite things to do. It looks like shit. You're coping. You're coping. You're coping. You have nothing. And that's why you're saying that.
Get it done.
Shoot lit issue to start rally mode.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with pinball.
Babbitt murder.
If you pinball, it's like don't try to hit the ball, don't lose the ball. Right? And then as you start developing skills, there's like strategies, there's different game modes. There actually can be a narrative so that you actually literally playing through a game. Right? So the game modes in this game is stop the steal, fake news, peaceful protest. It's a setup.
I love that the internal contradictions in the way that right-wingers operate is perfectly demonstrated here, because on the one hand, one of the game modes is that it's a peaceful rally, but then the other one openly admits that Babbitt was murdered at said peaceful rally. But last but not least, it's a setup, which implies that it wasn't actually peaceful, but that lack of peacefulness was a consequence of FBI setting them up. Those three things in unison end up contradicting one another, especially when you call it an insurrection pinball machine.
Have faith in political prisoners. And as you play through each one of those modes, different videos from J6 comes up on the top screen. Get it done. And the goal is to get the high scores.
Braze baited this shit into existence. We got beautiful merch at the CPAC Marketplace. Do you want to show everyone that you are the most divorced Deborah out there? Please purchase our beautiful bedazzled American flag purses. You could also put bedazzling on your guns, which have a weirdly fat handle for some reason. Weirdly fat pistol grips that you will not be able to fly back to your state, and it will be confiscated by the TSA, which is now known as the Trans Security Association. That's right. DEI has taken over the TSA, and that is why they won't let you bring a gun to a plane. Those might be gun-shaped lighters. Yeah. I mean, these are fire, of course. One nation under God. With the little cross up there too. Hell yeah, glory, glory, hallelujah, baby. Make America great again. Pretzel dried candies, baby. Got corruption. Hashtag walk away. The Walk Away Foundation for the former demon rats who left the Democratic Party plantation. Liz Truss was at CPAC whining about how she got destroyed by the UK deep state, apparently. Oh, that's awesome. Let's look at some more merch. Incredible things are happening in the field of fashion. Many of you don't understand. This is Hog Balenciaga. Okay? Cops say legalize. What? Legalize what? He's got a Ukrainian flag in the right pocket. That's so sick. Ask me why. Balenciaga. Yeah. God, just so unfuckable and so dripless. Oh my God. The Debussy Brigade has arrived. Woke tears. Wait, that's AB, bro. AB needs to sue. This AI mid-journey ass fucking art. That's AB. Am I crazy? What the fuck? How'd they catch him crying like that? Woke Tears Water, America's funniest anti-woke brand, making hydration great again. Identifies as transparent. Made from pure melted snowflake tears. God, I love hogs so much. They have so much fun. By the way, as is the case with like all this upmark shit, it's such a transparent grift, and one of my favorite types of transparent grifts, because it is so it is so obviously upmarked and selling this like garbage product that you can get it for a much cheaper price point, simply because it's like, yeah, this is a conservative. This is our conservative brand of water. Oh God, we will get back to Hogwatch in a little bit. I want to see more CPAC stuff later down the line today. That'd be a lot of fun. I think Pokimane releasing Trump cookies soon. Yeah. However, before we get to the Hogwatch, what I do want to talk about is the House Republicans advancing an impeachment inquiry against President Joe Brandon. Meanwhile, what is actually advancing is the top of the hour ad break, which comes at the top of every hour. If you no longer want to see those ads, well, then all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free. Holy shit, time is flying right now. I didn't even notice that the top of the hour was here. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Okay, so House Republicans advance impeachment inquiry against President Biden, yet one of the major players in the impeachment inquiry that corroborated this like damning evidence that Joe Brandon was engaging with Ukraine in a nefarious way by way of Hunter Biden. Well, he was just arrested for being a potential Russian spy and also lying to the FBI. So, you know, much to consider here. Here, let's watch
President Biden.
I'm going to go pee
President's
real
brother
quick.
James testified behind closed doors yesterday. Meantime, GOP lawmakers are facing new questions about the former FBI informant charged with lying about the president and his son. Scott McFarland is on Capitol Hill. Scott, good morning. What do you know?
Hey, Vlad, good morning. The ex-FBI informant's alleged ties to Russian intelligence is raising questions, but Republicans dismiss Democrats' claims. This deals a fatal blow to the impeachment inquiry.
We're not commenting now.
The president's younger brother, James, was the latest to appear before the Republican-led impeachment inquiry into President Biden on Wednesday, telling congressional investigators the president had no direct or indirect role in his business ventures. But Republicans were also answering questions about former FBI informant Alexander Smirnov, who appeared in federal court just a day earlier.
Any concerns about what happened with this FBI informant?
I'm looking at it. Just want to see what they've got, why they say what they say.
No second thoughts about this?
No.
Smirnov is charged with providing false information about President Biden and his son Hunter, some of it allegedly coming from Russian intelligence officials. Republicans had often cited the evidence Smirnov presented.
Even a trusted FBI informant has alleged a bribe to the Biden family.
But Smirnov's claim that Hunter Biden and his father forced Ukrainian energy firm Burisma to pay them each.
Can I just say, here's yet another moment where I fucking called it. I did not say that he was a Russian spy or anything like that, but I did, without a shadow of doubt, call this thing. But many others did as well. The FBI informant that the Republicans were using that would tie this entire conspiracy, and I mean like in the legal sense, okay? Tie this entire conspiracy together, had utilized the anonymous tip line of the FBI where you can make whatever kind of assertion you want to make, okay? It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous to use this fucking dude to be like, this is our guy. This is our star witness. The right deleted all the info from said informant off the impeachment website as well. It's just so fucking stupid. It's so unimaginably dumb. But of course, anything to keep the grift going, anything to further sedate the masses and also cause them to, I guess, engage in mass psychosis. It's so fucking stupid. And Republicans are doing this. They've been doing this in perpetuity, but nowadays I feel like they're doing this through the main organs of propaganda like Fox News and whatnot to a much higher degree. It obviously has long-lasting consequences, and it is causing genuine chaos and destroying any semblance of political discourse that could potentially happen. It's so Jover. Okay? Like the whole Hunter Biden and Joe Biden together did the Burisma thing, and Joe Biden caused this prosecutor to resign, was a falsehood from the jump. I have coverage on this issue from the Trump impeachment back when Trump was president, when Republicans first tried to make these assertions. I'm sure someone can find it if you are motivated enough. I'm sure that you can find, I think I was like talking to Kyle Kulinski at the time as well. Basically, talking about how Joe Biden ended up pressuring Ukraine to fire a prosecutor that was actually helping his son's company, the company his son worked for, Burisma. The entire global NGOs and the entire global community that was interested in Ukraine at the time wanted this prosecutor out because they saw him as a corrupt figure. Republicans themselves petitioned the Obama White House at the time, demanding that this prosecutor be fired. The Burisma scandal is hilarious for that reason. The Burisma scandal, the Republicans desperately tried to turn into a real issue for the Bidens at the time because they thought they could use it twofold. They thought that they could use it against the Bidens or against Joe Biden in a potential reelection, or not a potential reelection, sorry, in the upcoming election. But they also thought this would be a good way to deflect away from Trump's very obvious quid pro quo phone conversation where he demanded blackmail and said that he would stop the flow of lethal aid that was already afforded to Ukraine by the Congress. That was completely illegal. You can't do that. And yet he tried it, and he got impeached over it. Didn't really matter ultimately. Obviously, the Senate still voted along party lines. Please say something about Alexei Navalny. What? Are you talking about Natalie? Did he talk about Natalie's death? Please say something about Alexei Navalny. What the fuck? Alexei Natalie. Anyway. So anything. Yeah, no, I'm holding it a secret. I'm refusing to talk about Alexei Navalny's assassination. Yeah, my silence is deafening on the matter. I certainly have not talked about it for the past couple of days now. Every single day. All right. As I was talking about, this was already a dud. This case was already a dud from the jump. It was a dud back in like whenever 2018 when this whole impeachment process started. It was a classic Republican move to be like, "Oh, you're saying we're doing a quid pro quo phone conversation with the Ukrainian authorities for blackmail for a potential rival, for a potential political rival in the upcoming election? Well, guess what, dude? Actually, no you." Now, obviously, this shouldn't work. Like, it should not be effective propaganda, because if the media operated as it's supposed to, they're supposed to go, yeah, this is a ridiculous thing. And some in the media did actually cover it and talked about it. But of course, the Republican propaganda machine doesn't work that way. They kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And the Republican Party, when they did come into power in Congress, after Joe Biden stole the election, of course, Brandon. What, guys, did he talk about Hunter Biden laptop with child porn? What the fuck are you talking about? No, I did not talk about the Hunter Biden laptop with child porn, because there's no child porn on Hunter Biden's laptop. That was 4chan shit. The fuck? That was a troll, sorry. Oh, okay. Great troll, man. Anyway. God, I got so excited for a second. I got excited that we had a real hog in our ranks. Anyway. Oh. I miss the hogs, man. We used to get way more hogs. I don't know what the fuck happened. Where'd they go? We could not have banned every single person. Anyway. COVID happened. They're all dead. Yeah, the only type of hogs we get now are like people who claim that they're liberals, that love the Democratic Party, but just love debating more than anything else. Sucks. Well, you never agree with them? I know, but I also loved debating them. Like when they would come in with like delusional talking points and stuff, it was awesome. And it's so much fun because they're fun. They don't have like the same smarmy attitude, or they don't know the proper way of communicating in the way that like a lot of liberal hogs, a lot of liberal reactionaries do, where they come in and like adopt the position as though they are the real progressives or whatever. A hog is never going to come in here and be like, I'm the real progressive and you're wrong. A hog will come in here and be like, entertain my hallucinations right now. This is how you're supposed to do it. Debate the hog farmers to get the hogs back in your barn. True. To be fair, maybe I missed them because I haven't seen them in a long time. That's why. It's like nostalgia. But if they were swarming the fucking stream, it would probably get old real quick, I suspect. Anyway. Grass is always greener. Anyway.
$5 million in bribes, prosecutors now say was a lie. For the second day in a row, prosecutors asked a judge to jail Smirnov until trial, alleging he had recent contact with Russian foreign agents and arguing he's a serious flight risk who's actively peddling new lies that could impact this year's election. Democrats say these recent developments should end the Republican-led investigation of the president.
And I'm restating my call to Chairman Comer, to Speaker Johnson, to fold up the tent to this circus show. It's really over.
These same congressional committees questioned Hunter Biden behind closed doors on Wednesday about his business dealings after a very public battle over several months over how that deposition should take place.
Hassan is the best, lol cow. Hey man, I am just wondering if you will ever do bro tips again. Might need to revamp the tips you gave before I do it. It's called Chad Vice. When you use the term lol cow though, you have to remember you automatically have outed yourself as like a permanently online, extremely online individual that is most likely very, very sad. Like, I assume. What is a lolcow? We're not going to talk about that right now. Come on, guys. Come on, boys. Let's not do that. Oh, I was wondering where it was coming from. And immediately, it's like clockwork, baby. It's like clockwork.
Damn, this guy's good.